Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want.
Episode 133. Today's show is brought to you by Deborah C. Owen, youth mindset trainer and parent coach at youcanraisegreatkids.com. If your child, teen, or young adult seems to be floundering and is stressed out and you don't know what to do, don't keep putting off getting the help you all need and deserve. Now is the time to help the young person in your life learn to thrive with confidence, grit, and resilience. Call Deborah Owen at 978-835-4354. Hello everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. I'm Debbie Owen from youcanraisegreatkids.com.
I'm Linda Tighe from allwellbreaksloose.com.
And I'm Wendy Williams from connectagain.org.
And we just had a wonderful conversation with Carrie Campbell. It's part 1. You'll get to listen to part 2 next time. And we were talking all about moms and dads and kids and the relationship that we have with kids and how mindset is such an important part of that.
Right.
Yeah, it really depends on what your mindset is about how you think about yourself, about how you think about relationships, and what you expect of the relationship that determines how that relationship goes.
Right. One of the things that she said that really hit my heart was when she talked about the fact that all of a sudden she kind of woke up and looked at her 2 children, a boy and a girl, and she said, I'm creating the story that they will be living off of for the rest of their days. I'm creating the environment that's going to make them, I'm putting words in her mouth now, that says this is how women act, this is how men act, these are how families act. So she said all of a sudden I just took responsibility for that and said I'm going to be more conscientious of supplying them with an environment that is conducive to health and happiness over the long haul, rather than, and that part of that was creating her journey to remove herself from a mutually abusive relationship that she was in, that she was. So I thought that was really, really powerful.
I wouldn't say mutually abusive.
No?
I wouldn't want to give that, because I think when people listen to that, they think she was being abusive as well.
Oh,
when
gotcha.
We think of
someone
who was the victim and the abusive person. She's saying take responsibility as the victim, but not to...
Right.
You're right.
Yeah. Gotcha. So when she just said, I just looked around and I said, I want my children's story to be one of, health and happiness rather than what they're witnessing currently. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was really, really powerful. And we all have that ability to I think that's a core standard of parenting. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. To really provide a healthy environment, all the water and the sunshine and everything that kids need to grow and grow well and not grow in a stunted way so
that's absolutely right. I mean, that's the kind of thing I talk about all the time. Is I empower as a parent coach and as a youth mindset trainer. What I do is one of the things I do is I empower parents to create the kind of environment that is conducive to having a happy relationship with their children, so that the children can grow up feeling happy, successful, like they're productive, connected,
plugged into a real.
And it's the parents who have to create that environment.
Yeah,
and we talked about that. We're the grown-ups, right? You're the one. Your child has not learned yet how to handle all of the stimuli that come to them. They haven't learned how to handle the things that are upsetting to them. Yes. That's what you need to model for them as a way to teach. Mm-hmm. And not just model, but also talk about it and say, I am really upset with you right now. I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret. So I'm going to put myself in a timeout. Right. I'm going to take a walk. Right. I'm going to go in the other room and breathe deeply. Right. I want to come back to you and talk to you.
Not a punishment timeout.
Not a punishment,
but a distance timeout, because there's studies that show that you can deregulate or come back down from that cortisol stimulus, if you will, by putting some time between
a little bit of time,
what's going on,
changing your physical state, taking some deep breaths. Boy, we've talked about this a million times. Taking some deep breaths makes a huge difference in how you handle being upset. And that it's not just talking about kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be your spouse. It could be your mother.
It could be at work.
Could be
your
at
boss.
work.
Could be your coworker.
Yep. Take some deep breaths. Put some physical distance between you if you can, safely. I mean, if you've got a 2-year-old who's going to run amok, I mean, obviously you can't.
Yeah.
You just need to come up.
It's a different vigilance.
That's a different kind of thing. Somehow you need to put the child in a safe place and yourself in a safe place before you handle your upsetness.
Right.
Yes. But Carrie gave a great example of that specifically of, her son when he was 2, he would throw tantrums. And my youngest son used to as well. I mean, just tantrums. I hate you, and I don't, and then crying and to just stay calm and say, I'm really sorry that you feel that way right now, but I really love you. And they don't like it when
sometimes it's I choose to love you anyway.
I choose to love you anyway, but and let it die down because it will. They don't know how to handle whatever their emotion is, so they're lashing out in that way. But if you infuse anger and frustration that they're acting that way, it's just gonna set it on fire, and it's gonna get worse, and it will continue. The behavior will continue as well. So as she was saying that they're looking for acceptance and love, and they don't know how to get it at that moment. They're frustrated, and they're looking for that. They're not looking for you to be mad at them for being frustrated because they don't understand that, and then they have to look for more approval. So they continue on with their misdirected way of dealing with it, but it's really what it is at the core. Is they're looking for love and acceptance and tell me everything's okay.
She said it was so great the way she said. She says we just need to relate and understand. She said nobody. If you're feeling frustrated and somebody comes along and says, "Would you stop it? Would you stop feeling frustrated? Would you stop, biting your fingernails? You're driving everybody crazy." Whatever it might be, the adult version of a tantrum, and it could be really looking like a tantrum. But, that wouldn't be welcome, or having somebody yell at you. It's not welcomed, and it doesn't work. Yeah. And so why do we do that with children? And so that does fly in the face of some typical child rearing approaches or cultures that people might have. But really, does it work? If it doesn't work on you as an adult, what makes us think that it will work on a kid? As a positive thing, right?
It doesn't work,
right?
Yeah, and it reminds me. Remember our conversation with Brian Post when he talked about the fact that children lie because they're afraid. The thought of telling you, "Yeah, I did break the vase,"
they're afraid.
They anticipate the wrath or the anger that you're going to come up with, so they have to cover up their mess and their mistake. And so they learn to lie because the parent can react so negatively to the offense. Like, you broke a vase? Are you okay? That's all I care about. Let's go clean it up. I broke something last week.
Not all parents are that calm, though. So
no, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, but that's what happens. That's why children learn to lie, because they say, which is going to get me, which is going to be more life-saving, more life-preserving, and less anxiety-producing? I'll lie.
Yeah. And I loved his approach. And he talked about saying to your child, don't say, "Why did you lie?" Say, "I feel really sad that we haven't set up a situation where you feel comfortable telling me the truth, and I take responsibility for that."
Yep.
And wow, it makes me feel really sad. And so that was really enlightening. And I think Carrie is talking a lot about the same stuff, right? And how you talk with your kids. And I've, always been a believer in you treat them with respect and love, and they'll give you respect and love back, right? That's what you put out is going to come back to you. So how you treat them is how they're going to respond back.
And the fear, I think, for a lot of parents is if I'm respectful and what was the other word you used?
Giving them love and respect.
Yeah, if you give love and respect, they're gonna walk all over me.
Exactly.
They're gonna run amok. They're gonna run through the mall and rip off all the clothes off the whatever. Is that true?
Absolutely not.
If they're treated with love and respect.
No. So I'm going to push back just a little. I'm just going to push back a little bit. I'm going to push back just a little bit. It is entirely possible that you can do love and respect at home, and then the kid goes out into the world and at school has some episodes that are somewhat traumatic and shifts them away from what you desire for your child to be, the kind of person you desire for them to be. And, when those situations happen, there are a couple things. First of all, you need to advocate for your child. Yeah. That's number one. You need to go to the school. You need to advocate for your child. Yeah. I did that when my children had issues. I probably didn't do it as forcefully as I could have in retrospect, but we were doing the best we could at that time. We advocated for our child as much as we could. Mm-hmm. And then the second piece of it is you need to stay true to who you want your child to be. Mm-hmm. Stay true to who you want yourself to be in terms of how am I going to relate to this child? I know my child is acting out because there's a lot going on at school. That doesn't give me permission to act out in response. I still need to be a calm, loving, patient parent no matter what my child is throwing at me. Mm-hmm. And that's hard. Mm-hmm. Let's say it. That's hard.
It's hard.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
So, you just have to acknowledge that it's hard. Give yourself some self-compassion and keep at it.
And keep at it, because it's a journey. And that's one of the things we talked about with Carrie too, is that, you say, do you want to be the raging, strange mom, or do you want to be the wonderful mom that loves herself and is caring? I said, well, you might be tending more to be the raging, strange mom, but wanting to be, and it's a journey. And so I think if you just really, like you said, if you just say to a kid, I'm sorry that I created an environment that makes you feel like you can't tell me the truth, and I'm working on that for all of us, for myself and our family, and let's move on from there with a calm, compassionate voice, rather than, why are you lying to me?
Right.
So there's a journey between that. Duality is also something that I personally am interested in exploring and unpacking, that life is not just binary. There's a bit of mystery, there's a bit of movement there that's not always clear.
I think as you've said about partnerships and marriages with kids too, that's always very valuable to read books about the developmental process, right? Because there's different developmental stages where kids respond very typically, right? And if you understand that, you go, oh, okay.
This is that stage where they do this.
Right.
Okay, my kid is not weird. Okay, right. I can wait for a few more months or a year if I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
For them to move on to the next stage.
Yeah, what did she say? 7 to 9. I guess kids are always pushing back. She goes, but they're supposed to. They're supposed to be differentiating themselves. But as a mother or a father, you're like, what is going on? Where's, you, and try to pull it back and rein it in and clamp down on it, and it's not the time for that. It's not the time for that.
Right.
So actually, excuse me one second, Linda. So another thing that can be really fun is if you actually know what the stages are, then when your 13 or 14-year-old starts talking back at you, you can look at your watch and say, awesome. You are right on schedule. Did you know that all 13 and 14-year-old boys talk to their parents that way?
Yeah.
I am so glad that you are just like
all the other kids.
Yeah, all the other kids. That
You're
makes
right
me feel
target.
You're right on target. It makes me feel good. So now what we need to do is start figuring out how to help you move past that.
Yeah.
But for right now, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
that'll really tick them off.
That would really tick them off.
But you know what? It's totally fine because you're making a joke out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And sense of humor is huge.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
And you're not getting upset.
Right.
And you're letting your child know, I'm not getting upset with you.
Right.
You're totally normal. And I love you anyway.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the message you want to give your kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, those stages are harder to deal with than the stage of, are you still not ready to use the potty? That one we don't like it, but we understand. We have so much more compassion over that for some reason, as opposed to going, you stupid child, why don't you use the toilet? You know what I mean? Like, most people don't act like that.
That's true.
But there are people who say, what do you mean you're talking back to me? Are you out of your mind? We're Williams. We don't talk like that to our parents. You get so inflamed by these other stages. But anyway, so I think
it all goes to.
I
was going to say that one thing that was helpful for me is learning about the frontal lobe development. That it doesn't happen until they're in their 20s, right? So when your kid forgets to do things constantly, you think, how many times do I have to tell you to brush your teeth before you go to school or whatever it is?
137.
They really actually just don't. And so it's not because they're being bad. It's not because they're defying you. It's because their frontal lobe is actually not developed. To the point where they just can't. They can't do it.
Until they're 23, 24, 26.
Yeah. So that's really comforting when they're out and about as teenagers driving around. Their frontal lobe is just not there to make good decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Carrie talked about that too. She talked about She talked about the fact that she said, so we expect children to pick up and go, oh, right, do my homework every day after being told maybe 2-3 times at the most. Yeah. That's what we want. And she goes, how many times have you said I'm going to lose that 5 pounds?
Yeah, that was a great analogy.
I'm lose that 5 pounds. So to your point, my frontal lobe must not be developed yet. Those 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds is still on me. Or whatever. Whatever habit that we keep saying, I got to do that. Darn it. I got to do that. I got to
give our kids a little bit of slack.
Yes.
And I actually, in relation to that, I liked what Carrie said about the difference between understanding and relating. And yes, that's a way you can understand what your child is going through, because if you take what their issue is and you put it into your own life and you say, oh, I guess I can understand that. On other cases, you can actually have a real relationship, and you say, I totally relate to what you're saying. Right. I have the exact same thing.
Right.
So there's a slight difference.
Right.
But if you feel like I can't relate, think about, how can I understand?
How can I understand something that's gone on in my life where I go, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm yelling at you for the 75th time to brush your teeth before you leave the house. I don't understand. But then
why
you say,
that's so hard?
It's interesting because I've made the commitment to myself to do something else before I leave the house every day, and I didn't do it yet again. So I understand in that point, as opposed to, I can't really relate to not brushing my teeth, but I can understand, forgetting something.
I think that's a really useful tool.
Yeah.
In parenting.
In parenting.
Or in life.
In life, yeah. I don't relate, but I think I can understand it.
Right, right.
Now brush your teeth.
Now brush your teeth. Really.
Brush your teeth for the final time.
That's right.
No, it's not.
I'm only kidding. I'm going to math.
That's right. To the moon, Alice. Right, yeah. No.
And then, so that was one of the two things, parents not understanding their kids. So we talked about that. And then the other number 2 issue that I asked her, what are the key things that parents talk about all the time? 1, not understanding their kids, and number 2 is knowing how to talk to their kids. And so we've talked a little bit about this. It's knowing how to change yourself and recognize that we use the word ego a lot in this conversation, which is not one that we've used very often in our previous conversations, right. And we want to make sure we define it as just that kind of reactive place. I think back to Dr. Bill Crawford. He talks about, reacting from the lower part of your mind instead of using the upper part of your mind.
Exactly.
And so I think that's another way to think about it.
It's
our survival mechanism.
She called it bound nature.
Bound nature, yeah. She and Brian call it bound nature, and that's
right.
And the picture of, they came up with that on their own. The picture of it is we're just kind of wrapped up in ourselves, and we can't get out of it.
Right,
yeah.
right. As opposed to just growing and flowering,
yeah.
It's cramped and it's not fully expressed.
Versus free nature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
living in our free nature. And that I equate with Bill Crawford saying, the upper part of your mind.
Right. Right. And just back to the, we're co-creating the relationship with our kids. Mm-hmm. And if they're not responding the way we want them to, we need to think about what are we putting out there that's creating that relationship.
Right. Do you remember that story about Gandhi's grandson?
Yes. Yes, that was from Dr. Brian Post.
How'd it go?
Yeah, so the issue, it was about lying. So the issue was that Gandhi was at the airport. His grandson was going to come pick him up, and his grandson forgot and showed up at the airport late with this excuse that was made up. And Gandhi, in the meantime, had called and found out that his grandson had forgotten. Or whatever. Yeah. He hadn't given him the right answer for whatever it was. And so then Gandhi looked at him and said, "Grandson, I am so terribly sorry that I have not created the kind of a relationship where you feel you can tell me the truth. As penance for myself, I'm going to walk home." And so his grandson drove the car behind his old grandfather.
Horrified.
Walking home from the airport for like 20 or 25 miles, whatever it was. And so what was
just the point is that Gandhi took responsibility for the fact that this precious relative, his grandson, was so afraid of his reaction that he said, instead of saying, "Grandfather, I forgot to pick you up. I apologize. I'd love to make it up to you," whatever that might be. Instead, his grandson said, "Oh, I thought you were coming in at this time rather than that time, and maybe you didn't send me the right email." Whatever the story was, the grandfather said, "The fact that you have to cover up this reality between us is something that I take responsibility for, because I should have I wish I'd given you more of a sense that, you and I are bound together, and no matter what you tell me, I'm going to love you, and we're going to move forward. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you feel like you have to hide from me, that's my fault. I'm taking that on.
Yeah, and so the grandson never did it again.
Never lied again.
It was the most powerful, left a very powerful impression on him. Like, wow, I'll never do it again. So there you go. Yeah. That was, better than, why are you lying to me? I know you forgot, and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Right. But to just kind of take responsibility.
Not that we have to walk 25 miles every time we want to prove a good
point. It's an extreme example, but it's so Gandhi-like.
Yeah. And the point is, I started out by how do we talk to our kids, and that is making sure that you come from a place of love and care and calm. And not allowing yourself to react, but you want to respond thoughtfully.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that before too.
We have once or twice. It's all that about living on intention. And trying to live better than we did yesterday. Yep,
well, listen, folks, you have spent some more time with the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Wendy, and Linda, and we are thrilled that you're here with us, and we hope that you'll come back again really soon. In fact, come back next week and hear part 2 of our wonderful interview with Carrie Campbell, who dropped some more wisdom bombs on us.
Yes.
So be sure to check that out, and please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. And share this with your family and friends. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.